In the YouTube video titled Lecture 15, Elgamal Encryption Scheme by Christof Paar, Professor Paar presents a comprehensive overview of the Elgamal Encryption Scheme, emphasizing its significance in contemporary cryptography. He commences the lecture by underscoring the paramount importance of public key cryptography in ensuring secure data transmission and storage, using a hypothetical scenario involving a company's CRM system in Houston to illustrate the concept. Professor Paar emphasizes the importance of comprehending the intricacies of public key cryptography, particularly in relation to the fundamental process of key exchange. This process involves the generation of a public key, which functions as a means to encrypt data, and a corresponding private key, which serves as the decryption key. The lecture then delves into a detailed explanation of the Elgamal encryption scheme, presenting it as a two-phase process encompassing key generation and encryption. Professor Paar elucidates the key generation process, which involves the selection of a large prime number and the subsequent derivation of both a public and a private key. He proceeds to explicate the encryption process, which employs the public key to encipher a message. The lecture concludes with an explanation of the decryption process, which utilizes the private key to recover the original message from its encrypted form. Professor Paar then delves into a discussion of the Elgamal scheme's robustness against various forms of cryptanalytic attacks, including chosen plaintext and chosen ciphertext attacks. He concludes the lecture by highlighting the diverse practical applications of Elgamal encryption, emphasizing its role in secure communication protocols and digital signature schemes. From 0 minutes to 5 minutes of the video, Professor Paar sets the stage for a discussion of the Elgamal encryption scheme by laying out the foundation of public key cryptography and its critical role in contemporary data security. He emphasizes the crucial function of public key regimes in safeguarding communication and data storage, highlighting their application across diverse domains such as defense, security, and financial institutions. This underscores the pervasive nature of public key cryptography in modern society. The professor then embarks on an explanation of the Elgamal encryption scheme, a robust public key cryptosystem widely adopted for its ability to ensure both confidentiality and authenticity. He explains that Elgamal's security hinges on the computational intractability of the discrete logarithm problem, a mathematical challenge that lies at the heart of its robust encryption. Professor Paar further elaborates on the mechanics of Elgamal encryption, outlining the three pivotal stages: key generation, encryption, and decryption. The key generation phase involves the selection of a large prime number p, a generator g of the multiplicative group of integers modulo p, and a randomly generated integer x. These parameters serve as the foundation for generating the public key and private key, which constitute the core of the cryptographic system. In the encryption stage, the message is converted into a numerical representation within the finite field. This encoded message is then multiplied by a randomly chosen element raised to the power of the public key, producing two ciphertexts. The first ciphertext is the message multiplied by the random element, while the second ciphertext is the random element raised to the power of the public key. Professor Paar concludes this initial segment of the lecture by illuminating the process of decryption using the private key. He explains that decryption involves calculating the inverse of the random element raised to the power of the private key, and multiplying this inverse with the first ciphertext. This procedure unveils the original message, demonstrating the secure and reversible nature of the Elgamal encryption scheme. He underscores Elgamal's significance in securing data transmission across various applications, highlighting its resistance to attacks and its adaptability to diverse security scenarios. From 5 minutes to 10 minutes of the video, Christof Paar continues his discourse on the Elgamal encryption scheme, emphasizing the paramount importance of comprehending public key cryptographic regimes and their myriad applications. Paar elucidates that the Elgamal scheme hinges on a public key and a private key, utilized for encryption and decryption respectively. The public key facilitates message encryption, while the private key enables decryption. Paar subsequently provides a meticulously detailed explanation of the Elgamal scheme's operational mechanism. He highlights Alice's utilization of Bob's public key to encrypt her message, which is then transmitted to Bob. Bob subsequently employs his private key to decrypt the message. Paar underscores that the Elgamal scheme's robustness hinges on the computationally challenging nature of the discrete logarithm problem, as an adversary would necessitate the ability to compute the discrete logarithm of a number to compromise the scheme's integrity. From 10 minutes to 15 minutes of the video, the speaker briefly touches upon the Elgamal encryption scheme. The speaker's main focus, however, is on highlighting the importance of understanding public key regimes as they relate to data security, especially in the context of data exchange. While they do mention the Elgamal scheme, they do not offer a detailed explanation of its intricacies or explore its applications in specific fields like e-commerce. The speaker emphasizes the need to comprehend the intricacies of public key cryptography and its application in ensuring secure data exchange. They underscore the value of public key cryptography in protecting sensitive information, referencing practical examples of its use. The speaker's remarks imply the critical role of public key cryptography in safeguarding digital communications and transactions in a modern, increasingly digitized world. From 15 minutes to 20 minutes of the video, the speaker addresses the Elgamal encryption scheme, highlighting its crucial function in key exchange within the realm of public key cryptography. The speaker emphasizes that this scheme hinges on the duality of a private key, jealously guarded, and a public key, freely disseminated. The Elgamal scheme is asserted to be a ubiquitous tool for safeguarding data communication, and the speaker meticulously deconstructs its fundamental workings. A user, the speaker elucidates, generates a random integer serving as their private key, from which a public key is subsequently derived. This public key is then disseminated to other individuals, enabling them to encrypt messages that can only be decrypted by the user possessing the corresponding private key. The speaker emphasizes that this asymmetric encryption technique ensures the confidentiality of messages, enabling only the intended recipient to unlock their secrets. The process is clarified through the use of concrete numerical examples, illustrating how messages undergo encryption and subsequent decryption through the deployment of the associated private key. From 20 minutes to 25 minutes of the video, Christof Paar delves into the fundamental role of public keys within the Elgamal encryption scheme, emphasizing the distinction between public and private key components. He elucidates that the public key is disseminated to the general public, enabling anyone to encrypt messages intended for the recipient possessing the corresponding private key. The private key, however, remains strictly confidential, safeguarding the integrity of the encryption process. Paar further underscores the security underpinnings of the Elgamal algorithm, highlighting the computational intractability of deciphering encrypted messages. He explains that an attacker attempting to breach the encryption would confront an overwhelming computational challenge, rendering such an endeavor effectively unfeasible. He expounds on the relationship between public and private keys within the Elgamal framework, outlining the generation process for public keys. The public key is derived by multiplying the private key with a predetermined constant, simplifying the process of generating the public key based on the private key. Paar emphasizes that the security of Elgamal encryption hinges on the difficulty of executing a discrete logarithm operation. This operation necessitates the calculation of the private key from the corresponding public key, a computationally intensive task, particularly when utilizing large prime numbers. The discussion culminates with Paar emphasizing that the decryption process relies on the recipient's private key. This process is uniquely accessible to the intended recipient, as the private key remains secret and specific to them. This ensures that only the authorized owner can access the encrypted message, maintaining the confidentiality of the information exchanged. From 25 minutes to 30 minutes of the video, the speaker delves into the process of transmitting the public key. They posit that while this public key is superior, it lacks equilibrium, and there are no guarantees of success. The speaker then transitions to a discussion of animals positioned above a wall, which they observed in Singapore. They subsequently comment on the ubiquitous nature of user-generated content within the read-in domain, drawing a comparison to the approximate 412 attendees at the Republica conference. Continuing the discourse, the speaker elaborates on the pervasiveness of stapler computers as a testament to the need for transformative change, particularly within the maritime and cruise industries. From 30 minutes to 35 minutes of the video, Christof Paar provides a comprehensive overview of the Elgamal encryption scheme, a cornerstone of public key cryptography. He elucidates the fundamental principles behind this scheme, emphasizing its reliance on a public key for encryption and a private key for decryption, thereby ensuring secure communication. Paar meticulously outlines the key generation process, emphasizing the selection of a random number, denoted as A, as the private key. This private key is then used to generate a corresponding public key, denoted as A, using the mathematical formula A equals G to the power of a mod P. He further clarifies the encryption procedure, explaining that a message, denoted as M, is encrypted using the public key, A, and a randomly chosen number, denoted as K. The resulting ciphertext, denoted as C, is expressed as C equals G to the power of K mod P, M asterisk A caret K mod P. Paar concludes by stressing the paramount importance of the discrete logarithm problem in ensuring the robustness of the Elgamal encryption scheme. He highlights that the difficulty of computing the discrete logarithm serves as a formidable barrier against potential decryption attempts, guaranteeing the confidentiality of the encrypted messages. From 35 minutes to 40 minutes of the video, the speaker delves into the realm of cryptography, specifically focusing on the significance of the public key in encryption. The speaker underscores that the public key is not invariably employed, with the choice of using it often contingent upon individual preference or the demands of a given situation. To illustrate its application, the speaker presents a scenario involving a computer builder who desires to secure their information. The speaker highlights that this particular method is exceptionally sexy in its efficacy and efficiency. Moving on, the speaker introduces another method, the people's key, and posits that it possesses superior qualities compared to the public key. The speaker subsequently elaborates that the public key is frequently employed in tandem with the people's key, with the ultimate selection remaining a matter of personal preference. From 40 minutes to 45 minutes of the video, the speaker delves into the significance of comprehending the intricacies of Elgamal encryption. He underscores the necessity of analyzing the computational underpinnings, as they are pivotal in deciphering the algorithm's resilience against unauthorized access. The speaker then elucidates the nature of Elgamal encryption as a public key cryptosystem, where the encryption process relies on a publicly accessible key while decryption requires a private key known only to the intended recipient. The concept of a session key, a temporary key employed to encrypt messages, is introduced, highlighting its generation through the public key and subsequent use in securing the message content. The speaker emphasizes the importance of employing a robust, randomly generated session key, thereby thwarting potential attackers from inferring the key and compromising the message's confidentiality. The importance of maintaining the secrecy of the session key is stressed, as its disclosure to an adversary could result in the message's decryption. Furthermore, the speaker advocates for the use of shorter session keys that are frequently rotated rather than static, longer keys, as the former are more resistant to brute force attacks and the latter's vulnerability to compromise poses a greater risk. From 45 minutes to 50 minutes of the video, the speaker engages in a discourse concerning the phenomenon of slipping within cryptographic systems, particularly the lex colon, a critical component of the Elgamal encryption scheme. The speaker emphasizes that slipping, a common occurrence, can be detrimental to system security, especially if the lex colon is involved. The speaker clarifies that this slipping is manifested by a change in value, specifically highlighting the potential shift from the value of 6 to a different number. This change, the speaker stresses, could significantly compromise the security of any cryptographic system reliant on the original value of 6. The speaker then introduces a novel concept, turbo, which serves as a safeguard against the negative consequences of slipping. The speaker explains that turbo acts as a countermeasure by correcting the slipped value, restoring it to its original state of 6. However, the speaker recognizes the complexity of the situation by admitting that turbo itself can be manipulated, further complicating the process of determining whether slipping has indeed occurred and whether turbo is functioning effectively. The speaker then underlines the importance of establishing a critical brand to combat such manipulation. The speaker illustrates this manipulation with an example involving a critical brand that has been subject to manipulation, resulting in a scenario where a slipped value appears to be correct, even though it is not. The speaker concludes this portion by emphasizing that slipping is a multifaceted issue requiring careful analysis and consideration. The speaker concludes the segment by highlighting the significance of turbos in maintaining the integrity of cryptographic systems. The speaker asserts that turbos play a crucial role in ensuring that values are not subject to slipping and that system security remains robust. This discussion underscores the ongoing struggle against the complexities of slipping and the measures required to control it. From 50 minutes to 55 minutes of the video, the speaker delves into the Elgamal encryption scheme, focusing on the pivotal role of public and private keys in ensuring secure communication. The speaker emphasizes that public keys are readily accessible to all, while private keys are held confidential. They outline the process by which a user encrypts a message using the recipient's public key, which can only be decrypted by the recipient using their private key. This fundamental principle of cryptography, as the speaker explains, serves as the cornerstone of secure communication, preventing unauthorized access to sensitive information. The speaker further clarifies this concept with a detailed example, showcasing the encryption of a message using a public key and its subsequent decryption using the corresponding private key. This demonstration underscores the inherent confidentiality provided by Elgamal encryption, allowing only the intended recipient with the private key to access the message's contents. From 55 minutes to 60 minutes of the video, the speaker delves into the intricacies of the Elgamal encryption scheme, emphasizing the pivotal role of temporary keys. They posit that these ephemeral keys are essential to ensure the robust security of the encryption process, highlighting the necessity of generating distinct keys for each message transmitted. The speaker underscores the importance of public beta testing, emphasizing its role in validating the efficacy of a product prior to its official launch. A tangential discussion on the cryptographic vulnerability of plain text attacks arises, where the speaker briefly explains the concept of attempting to decipher encrypted messages through educated guesses about the original text. Finally, the speaker briefly touches on the business strategy of same-store sales, noting its significance as a key performance indicator for the health and growth of retail businesses. From 60 minutes to 65 minutes of the video, the speaker delves deeper into the Elgamal encryption scheme, emphasizing the critical distinction between public and private keys. They stress that the public key, readily accessible to the intended recipient, facilitates decryption, while the private key, held securely by the sender, ensures confidentiality. This core element of the Elgamal system prevents unauthorized decryption. The speaker then elucidates the role of temporary keys within the scheme, highlighting their function in bolstering security and mitigating unauthorized access. These ephemeral keys are instrumental in establishing robust and secure communication channels. The speaker further clarifies the public key's contribution to message integrity. They explain that the recipient leverages the public key to validate the message's authenticity and thwart any attempts at tampering. The speaker's explanation culminates in a discussion of session keys, crucial for secure communication between parties. These keys serve to encrypt and decrypt messages within a specific communication session, ensuring that only the intended parties can access the information exchanged. From 65 minutes to 70 minutes of the video, the speaker continues to delve into the computational aspects of the Elgamal encryption scheme, emphasizing the critical role of mathematical underpinnings. The speaker underscores the importance of comprehending the fundamental principles of exponentiation, which lies at the heart of Elgamal's operation. The speaker elucidates the cryptographic system's reliance on a key pair, comprising a public key and a private key, intricately intertwined in the process of encryption and decryption. The public key serves as the instrument for encrypting messages, while its counterpart, the private key, holds the power to decrypt them. Notably, the public key derives its existence from the private key. However, the speaker highlights the computational intractability of reverse engineering the private key from the public key, a core security feature that safeguards against unauthorized decryption. The speaker concludes by reiterating the significance of this robust security property, ensuring the confidentiality and integrity of sensitive information. From 70 minutes to 75 minutes of the video, the speaker delves into the Elgamal encryption scheme, emphasizing its prominence within the realm of public key cryptography. They articulate that the scheme operates by employing a transient key generated during the session, which is neither stored nor divulged, thereby enhancing the security of the communication. The speaker elucidates that the sender encrypts the message using this ephemeral key and transmits it to the recipient, who then decrypts it using their private key. They clarify that the receiver's private key remains confidential, never being exposed to the sender or any extraneous party. To provide a clear illustration of this process, the speaker engages in a step-by-step demonstration, expounding upon the roles of the public and private keys in encrypting and decrypting messages. The speaker concludes this segment by reiterating the paramount importance of safeguarding the receiver's private key, as it constitutes the cornerstone of maintaining the confidentiality of the exchanged messages. From 75 minutes to 77 minutes of the video, the speaker engages in a discourse on the critical role of session keys within the realm of encryption. They posit that session keys, also known as temporary keys, are indispensable for safeguarding the integrity and confidentiality of communication. The speaker articulates that session keys are generated during the initial exchange of information between parties and are paramount for maintaining secure communication. They emphasize the necessity of frequent key rotation, ideally after each message transmission, to mitigate the risk of key compromise and subsequent data exposure. The speaker elucidates that session keys are distinct from public keys, which remain static and facilitate the establishment of initial contact between communicating entities. The speaker proceeds to illustrate how public keys are utilized to encrypt session keys. They explain that this process, known as public key encryption, serves to protect the temporary session key before it is employed to encrypt the actual message content. Using a step-by-step example, the speaker demonstrates how a public key is first used to safeguard the session key, which in turn secures the message. The speaker concludes by highlighting the profound security implications of a compromised session key, emphasizing the essential nature of frequent key rotation in upholding robust communication security.